Oh, hello there, beautiful people. My name is Brian Brushwood. Welcome to my personal channel where I'm going to be giving you a behind-the-scenes commentary on this week's episode of Scam School, an awesome trick by the completely badass magician Pete Boie. Today, we will be drinking Breckenridge Brewery's Double Hopped IPA, small batch 471, and I insist that okay, you know what? I'll full on tell you. The only reason I bought this stuff is because the first time I ever saw it, the freaking... Look at that. Look at that logo. Does that logo look familiar? I can't imagine why I would be subjected to such a thing, or attracted to such a thing, or subjected to the attraction. All right, so here's the thing. You'll notice that a lot of the stand-ups that we're doing right now that we're in Austin, Texas, it's a little bit awesome because we're able to shoot the stand-ups on 6th Street, which is an iconic, very famous place. It's like Bourbon Street. You got 120 bars all in one straight row. Every one of them look different. They all have their own little unique backgrounds. You'll notice, however, that most of the shots that we get at the bar are that in the evening. And the reason for that is our first priority is we want to get real people in real situations from Scam School. You know, there's a lot of other places that will teach you a magic trick or two. We wanted to go a step beyond and have the social proof of showing that these things actually work in the real world. Because when I first started Scam School, I did, you do a search for bar tricks, you get like thousands of hits, and they would be these explanations that are so difficult to get into. Sometimes it would just be a pair of hands and subtitles underneath, and it was nothing but like setup and answer. And it's like, to me, I felt like these tricks deserve better. It's like, I want to prove that they work. I want to be there at the bar. I want to have real people reacting to them. I want people not only to, I didn't want to sell a trick. I wanted to sell a lifestyle of being the center of attention at the bar. And so as a result, when we do these shoots, usually we'll try to get 4 episodes done in a night. And the main focus is, we'll show up around 5 o'clock. We'll get everything set by 6, go out and try to find people. And the first focus is try to get as many of the episodes, get the content first, get them reacting to the trick's working, the explanations. And then if we can that night, go ahead and continue to shoot the intros and the outros and the sponsor reads. In this case, what happened was we briefly thought that we were going to have 2 nights of episodes that we needed to do. So I called in all of my very talented friends. We had Derek Diddleman, we had Dan Martin, we had Pete Boie, Johnny Zavant showed up for a little bit during this one. And we got we were going to do 2 nights, but instead we only had sponsors to do 1 night of shoot. And plus, this is in the middle of South by Southwest. And booking a venue in South by Southwest is utterly ridiculous. It's completely insane. So I said, okay, if we're only going to do 1 night, I'm going to get as many tricks as we possibly can in just 1 episode. So I asked everyone to sort of put their heads together and see if we could get 6 episodes out of 1 night's of shoots. And I was like, don't worry about it. The next day, I'll do the sponsor reads later. I'll do the intros later. We'll make it work. Let's just get the tricks. And again, as I mentioned, like, the tricks are the important thing to me. By the way, real quick, this shot that you're seeing right here, this is all the episodes you're going to see for the next month or so will be here at the Moon Tower Saloon, which is a gorgeous venue, especially at the golden hour, which is where we are now. But as the problem with the golden hour is, as good as the light looks, the light changes very, very rapidly as the sun sets. So you'll notice that that this wide shot right here gets darker and darker over the entire episode. Now, the close-ups usually look okay. Here's me right here, like, looking fine. But now look at the difference between this shot and then boom. It's clearly a different day, and I believe this is one of the canned sponsor reads where we banked a few of them. You can tell my hair's a little bit shorter, and if you ask me, I may be a little bit thinner in this shot. I put on like 4 pounds, which is one of the problems with being like 5 foot nothing, that it's easy to put on and also freezing in the middle of this. Here, let's do this. We'll do that right there, and go. And go. Scam code 10 at checkout, and cue the going, and continue to talk, and we're good. So what I was about to say is that people don't realize I'm very short. All of the T-shirts you see me wearing, those are all smalls or extra smalls. I'm sure that the camera does a good job of making me look like a grown-up man, but I'm a tiny, tiny man. And so you'll notice here, take a look at this wide shot when we come back here. Wait for it. Oh, we're paused on there. Okay, good. So I look really tall here. If you look underneath me, it's because there are no standalone stools that we could set up. So we set up 2 logs on top of each other, which I loved because I'm practically standing up right now in the middle of this shot. Let me jump this forward. There we go. See if that does anything. There we go. Yeah. So, and in fact, most of the shots, what I'll do is I'll actually sit on one of my feet. Here, hold on. You ever do this, like a half Indian style kind of thing, where you're actually sitting on one of your feet, which is great for, giving you another 3 inches to boost up and look kind of tall. But the problem is, by the time you've been shooting for 20 or 30 minutes, your foot's totally falling asleep, and you're like, "Grah!" And then you got to switch to the other foot to give you, I can't even do it, whatever. But the point is, I'm a short man, and as a result, when my weight fluctuates, you can really see it on my face. But back to Pete Boie. Pete Boie put this together. I believe this exact method is in like some Cub Scout magic books. And this is one of the crazy parts about Scam School, is we always try to take super old, forgotten, unused ideas, stuff that you would find in Cub Scout magic books, and figure out a way to put a presentation on it that would make it practical in the real world. And when Pete told me he had this, it was like sight unseen. It was like I didn't know what the trick was, but it's like Pete said that he had an idea for it. I'm like, yes, done. Let's fly you down. We'll have you on a couple of Scam Schools. Which, by the way, real quick side note, people did not think I was funny or cute for last week's Carbonite ad. Pete, you'll notice, is the guy who came over and spread the cards and be like, Brian, I worked really hard on this card trick. The cards are in an order. And I slapped it out of his hands. Like, those were my cards. We set that whole bit up. He was very cool about it. But like, just the idea that I would be such a colossal asshole that I'd walk over and slap the cards right out of his hand apparently pissed off a lot of people. So I apologize. That was apparently not a good thing for me to do. But so Pete suggested this trick, and I didn't even know what it was. It didn't matter. I was like, Pete's talented, he's funny, and it'll be awesome. So I had him come on down, and like minutes before we shot this, he showed me the trick, and there really was, like I mentioned in the episode, there really was this brief moment of abject horror of thinking like, well, there's no way we can't possibly do this on Scam School. Because as you've heard me mention on the show, there are 3 things I look for in a Scam School trick. For number 1, and the most important, is it dead simple? Is it something you can hear about today and perform tonight, whether or not you have a magical background or not? And second of all, is it something you could do without ever setting foot in a magic shop? Because I don't want people going out and having to spend money. Because if I teach you something and you can't do it, then I've just scratched the itch, and that's exposure. That's not teaching. And then the most important one is there any magician who has created this thing that's currently alive? Because it's something that belongs to another magician, then certainly we need to get permission for that magician before we feature it on the show. And that, of course, is how we featured content from Andrew Main, from Banachek, from Rich Ferguson, from Diamond Jim Tyler, from literally dozens. Daniel Garcia, Neil. Why can I not remember Neil's last name? But Bob Neal. That's the name I'm trying to think of. because Neil is his last name. That's why I can't. And of course, getting to meet the great and wonderful Martin Gardner and talking to him about Scam School before he passed away was one of the highlights of my entire lifetime. But the point is, we've had a lot of great magicians contribute, but it's important to us that all of the content be the kind of thing where we're not taking a single penny from another working performer, and so that's what we have right here. In this case, he took an idea that's very, very old, usually applied with playing cards. He figured out his own adaptation to do it with coasters, and let me tell you, man, this is the kind of thing Pete could have gone and put together a write-up on it and gone around and sold it to Magicians Club for $10, but I'm really impressed and thrilled that he wanted to share it with you guys. There's some chatter in magician circles about whether or not the Scam School audience are magicians. And for me, full stop. I mean, you guys want to know. You learned it. You do it. You're here. You sought out the show. You subscribed. You're in the clubhouse as far as I'm concerned. So this shot right here, and you can already see how dark it's getting, as I mentioned. The important thing is that when we do this shoot, Pete is on the other side of the table from me, and Pete is a little bit quieter than I am. So a lot of times it felt like he wasn't getting his point across. And so from the other side of the table, I would try to help him out by injecting or restating or injecting my thoughts on it. It's very difficult at a bar to know how stuff is reading. And when we got back to Rough Cut on this, I was just like, oh my God, Brian Brushwood, would you shut your stupid face for 3 seconds and let Pete finish? So we had to go back and actually cut out a bunch of my interjections where it was a case where I thought I was adding something, but upon watching it, you could clearly hear that Pete was already making his own points very saliently, and he didn't need me to interject at all. And so to dial back the Brian Brushwood douchebagism, we were able to edit it, which is another thing. That's very, a lot of the guests on the show will sometimes be super nervous, and they'll sort of, the big sins they'll do is they'll look into the camera a lot, and it's like, dude, don't acknowledge the camera. This, we're telling a story. The story is we're here at the bar. The cameras don't exist. Don't look at the camera. But Pete was a natural, man. He did a really good job of just keeping everything flowing. Speaking of naturals, these guys right here, AJ and crew, they had it. They instantly got it. They got it down perfectly. They made up their own jokes. They took the narrative to a new level, which I get a lot of emails, and I mean a lot of emails of people who have suggestions for tricks and a bunch of other stuff. But the ones that are the most satisfying are people who tell me stories of actually going out and doing these effects. And when I see somebody like AJ, who doesn't have a background in magic, instantly not only own the trick, but just sell it. Here, you can see how dark it's getting right here. Yeah, but sell it, make up his own nuances, and run with it. It really, really makes me proud of what we're doing with Scam School. As far as I'm concerned, like, the world needs more young, talented magicians, and shows like this are what are making it possible for that to happen. And then again, this is, I think, 2 days later. If I'm lucky, I remember to wear the right shirt, because I'll usually each night I'll take 2 or 3 shirts and then change mid-evening. But then days later, it'll be difficult for me to remember, like, what shirt did I wear for all this? Speaking of which, yes, Peter Boie, P-E-T-E-R-B-O-I-E, peterboie.com. If you want to be a friend of the show, then do me a favor and send him a Twitter as well. Send him a tweet at Peter Boie. Let him know how much you appreciate him coming on the show, because he's a totally badass dude. And while you're at it, why don't you subscribe to this, my personal channel. It's sort of a hodgepodge. You'll notice, like, occasionally we're doing these behind-the-scenes things. We also have a lot going on at scamstuff.com, and I think I'm going to start doing, like, exclusive discount announcements on this channel. I want to encourage people to get both sides of it. Scam School, of course, is the real work. That's the real show, and that's the one that's most popular. But all of the behind-the-scenes supplemental stuff, if you're a Brian Brushwood fan, then I must insist, just press subscribe over on there. Oh, and in fact, if you have suggestions on the intros or the outros, all of that stuff, you'll notice the intro is always some kind of crazy metaphor or something, and the outro is some kind of, like, false promise about what's going to happen next week. If you want to suggest those, just write me at brian@schwood.com. People ask all the time, like, where should I send stuff? I'm like, I don't know. How about the email I give you every single episode? All right, guys, hope you enjoyed it. We'll hang with you guys later on. Take care. I love you very much. You're looking very tall and handsome today.